We're going to throw a tarp over our next guest because it's time to paint over United. Jeannie Costello, First Vice President, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And you guys have been going through a lot in terms of updating the color palettes, and because you're getting ready for a big paint in the community, right?
Well, we are moving in that direction.
Heading that way.
We're moving in that direction, yes. We had about 10 years ago was when we adopted the current palette that you currently see out.
Drive around the community, you see that was approved back in 2015.
15, right?
Right.
So in April of 2024, the Maintenance and Construction Committee requested updated color palettes for our building from our professional paint supplier. In August of 24, they submitted it to the Architectural Control and Standards Committee, who reviewed it, made some tweaks, and then passed it on in November of 2024 to the entire board for our review. Mm-hmm. And this is where we are now. So we are in the middle of contemplating, making slight adjustments possibly, and then moving forward, hopefully, for implementation.
And is this just one of those things like every 10 years or so, hey, the styles kind of change, the choices kind of change for people. We have different, trends going on.
I think that's just trends in the world at large, right?
Like our clothing, 80s,
right.
like 90s. And
the funniest part of the whole thing is mid-century modern is now back again, right? It's like, wow, I grew up with mid-century modern, but everybody loves it now. So, yeah. So the updated colors are meant to reflect what's currently happening out in, outside the castle walls, as I like to say, and more current architectural color trends. And I think we have them.
Yeah, we have the slides. We can show that one.
Yeah, there they are, as they are currently. So what you're seeing is the rectangle at the bottom would be your manor color, the big color. Okay. The small rectangle up immediately on top of it would be your trim color, like your woods, okay. And then the color, the rectangular swatch coming down would be your door color. So okay. It's based on a 3-color palette, and within this entire color story, different types of buildings would have different color stories available to them. Okay. For example, the single stories would have 7 of the 8 manor colors available to them. The Seville style, the 2 stories would have 5. Multiple stories would have 3, okay. And then we have 2 dedicated specifically to the laundry buildings and the carports.
Okay, so you can have your own kind of flair on what you like, and people can go through it, especially if you're in the manors. You have a lot more choices.
Exactly. You have a lot more choices in general, and the first thing that people do when we present a palette is, how can I make changes? What's the variance process? So we do have one. It's not like you're stuck with it, but okay. but here's the process for variance. About a month or 2, maybe 3, before you actually get into the prepare for paint and painting process, you'll receive a letter. And in that letter, it's going to specify the default color story that your building has been given based upon creating different color stories throughout the village. So at that point, if everybody's happy with the color that has been chosen for your building, do nothing. That's what the color story you're going to get.
Well, let's pretend everybody's not happy, because I have a feeling that everybody's not always happy.
Let's not pretend. Let's assume.
Let's assume.
Well, let's assume. And so what happens is there is a variance process. Here's the catch. Everybody has to agree, right? Because I'm one of 4, right? My manor is one of 4. All 4 of us had to agree. If we wanted to change the default color, we all had to agree on what that new color was going to be. Okay. Everybody signs there's a variance form. Everybody signs the variance form, putting in what color story they would want. It gets submitted and approved by Maintenance and Construction, and all goes forward. Okay,
it's within the choices that are on the
yes.
there. I mean, we're not going pink and
No. For example, if you have a single-story manor, your choices would be within those 7 color stories available for single-story manors.
Okay.
But wait, there's more.
Oh,
because everybody likes to be an individual, even if you have the color story that everybody else has, you can still change your door color. And there are specified door colors for, again, within your color story building palette that would be available for you to further individualize your manor as you so choose.
Now, sometimes that sounds silly to some folks, but I actually did it in Palm Springs. I did a door tour. They called it, we did on bicycles. We walked and went around with all these mid-century modern homes, and there were doors on our maps that had these great like doorknobs and knockers and all this, and then the colors and the styles, and people really do like to individualize and have it express themselves.
I was going to say, it's how people express themselves, right? So so have fun with your door color. So this is what we're moving towards. We're not rushing it. What we want to do is, we've already shown the palette at a town hall. So what's next, right? So what we're going to do is, once we confirm the color palette that we feel comfortable based upon feedback from the community, we're going to put it on the 28-day notice.
Okay.
The palette will be available for viewing in resident services in the community center here, and then we will vote on it at a future open board meeting.
Now, in terms of potential adjustments, are there other ones that didn't make this final cut? They say, okay, well, here's, if somebody's interested in this, or B is really just nobody wants this one, here's some other options we already have.
We got good feedback from the town hall,
bench?
and I think based on that, based on that, it's possible that we could go back to our paint supplier and say, hey, you know, this one nobody likes, right? And change it out for something maybe a little lighter, you know, because the color stories are a little more bold than where we are right now.
So you can maybe 50% of this or something like that.
So, but bottom line, at the end of the day, it has to look cohesive with all the other color stories. So, but that's for greater minds than mine at the paint company to determine.
And do you have a favorite? I'll put you on the spot.
I do.
Okay, but you're not going to tell, right?
I'm not going to tell.
That's the smart. See,
I'm not going to tell.
That's how you get elected.
I like what everybody else likes. So, but like I said, we went through the paint process. We won't be painted now for a few more years, but I can tell you, we went through the paint process in my building, and it was very painless. I mean, the variance process. Everybody agreed, and that was ultimately what our building was painted. So it can be done.
Okay, so it can be done, almost pain-free.
Almost.
So it could be implemented as soon as possible if there's no real kind of hiccups.
So here's what happens. So after the palette is voted on by the board and hopefully approved, then what happens is we have to get in front of the train, because as we're going through this paint process, paint is being purchased, right? So we're probably, according to, again, the maintenance and construction department, we're probably 60 to 90 days out already in terms of the preparations we've made for manors. So we'd be getting out in front of that once the new palette is confirmed and the new manors are getting notified that their manor is building is going to be painted the new color story. So it's imminent once we get it voted on.
Once they voted on, and they are bold. They're nice, and they definitely seem more modern. You know, and that's what people like. You want to kind of update the community in its look, and that's kind of the best way to do it is through the paint process.
While maintaining individuality.
There you go. I want to get my special door. All right, let's talk about some other stuff. The member trusts, transfers, and subleases.
Right.
There's been some goings on there.
Yeah, we passed this in the last open board meeting. So we passed this resolution, and it's really aimed at efficiency and time management, right? So in October of 2014, the United Board elected to delegate the signing authority for certain applications and agreements to certain VMS staff that are approved to sign on our behalf. Memorandums of occupancy, termination of occupancy, interim dual ownership agreements. So then in July of 2020, they approved the VMS to approve or deny membership trust and sublease permits with the following caveats: that a minimum of 2 board members are required to make random checks to confirm the conformance of the rules with the rules and regulations.
Right.
So since 2020, since we've been monitoring this, 100% of all of these forms, these subleases and trust applications that have been presented with no changes or revisions.
Well, that's a pretty good track record.
It is. We're batting 1,000. So as a result, the board has determined that this extra verification step is no longer necessary, and that with the understanding that VMS will continue to elevate those applications where there's cause for concern.
Right. Anything that kind of like raises an eyebrow,
Exactly.
okay, we need to have this one, but otherwise if it's pretty standardized, then there's no really need for that double checking.
Right, and they do. I mean,
Right.
they will elevate things that for our approval or decline.
Well, there you
So
go.
there you go. So again, in the effort to save everyone's time and duplication of effort, we felt that this was a good move.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good. So we want to talk about being prepared.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
And you know what? These were devastating fires that happened in LA, and it's one of those reminders that's like, that is one of the things we have to watch out for. Earthquakes are something that is always a threat. And and then right after the fires, what do we get 2 weeks later? We have these devastating rains that hit a community.
Exactly.
So there's all sorts of reasons why emergencies happen here in Southern California and why we should be prepared.
Right, and I think we get inured until something like this happens, and then all of a sudden it elevates the temperature of these conversations. And I was so impressed with the information that our VMS CEO, Siobhan Foster, shared with the United Board last week, that I felt it was important to get this information out through this method as well, because she gave us some valuable emergency preparedness information and alerts. The first one coming from our friends at Southern California Edison. Planned and unplanned power outages, as we know, as we've lived in the village, can happen at any time. So we're strongly recommending that our residents, and especially those who depend on electricity to power medical devices, register with SCE to receive these alerts and updates. It is a good reminder, not only for this, but you are ultimately responsible for your own preparedness. There's not going to be a little buggy coming along to evacuate you or take care of you. You have to assume, as they say, to be on your own for at least 3 days and be prepared for that, right? So SCE is just telling you that just to be prepared for things like this, so that if and when they do happen, we hope they don't, but we know they're going to, that you feel more in control of the situation, right?
Right.
So, and that to contact SCE directly. I did not know that they had all of these programs and alerts available. So there's the the website address to receive these push alerts. I recommend that everybody out there go to the SCE.com outage alerts and sign up for these push alerts that will give you some information regarding if they're coming or when they have happened, what the ETA is for their extension.
And it's like you say, it's vital,
Termination.
especially for folks who are dependent on electricity for the equipment they may be running in their house.
Exactly.
Charging of their wheelchairs, things like that. It's an important thing to know something's happening, something's going on in the community, and those kinds of things. The alerts are.
Which leads me to my next thing that she
yes.
said. Did you know, I didn't know, that SCE has medical baseline allowance program and a critical care backup battery program. The information is on the board here, but sign up for these, especially if you have a medical device that needs electricity. SCE is here for you, but you need to let them know that you're there. So the information is there on the board, and you can reach out to them to get signed up for the program.
And that's vital. I mean, that's life and death sometimes.
It can
cases
be.
like that, and especially if there's an outage for a long time and services aren't coming in. Like you said, you are on your own. That can be the difference maker.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the question that we've been getting very frequently for obvious reasons is there an evacuation plan or a strategy? And the answer is it depends. Because we never know where the fire is going to start from, right? We never know what direction it's going to go, so how do we tell you to evacuate when we really don't know until the actual moment? So the Orange County Sheriff's Department is the one who's going to oversee our evacuation plans in the moment. And the evacuation sites are chosen by the Sheriff's Department depending on the situation. And they could include schools, large shopping centers, but to always get people out safely. And again, be responsible, understand what you're going to do in that moment, right? If you are not ambulatory, reach out to your neighbors, right? Make sure neighbors taking care of neighbors. That's the best way to do this, as opposed to depending on help that might be 3 days away, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the situation on the ground changes rapidly, as we saw in Los
As
Angeles.
we saw.
There were shopping centers that were evacuation centers that became overrun, and schools and the same thing.
Schools were burned down, and they were the evacuation centers.
They were the evacuation centers.
Right.
So it's like those things can change and turn on a dime.
Right.
And so it's really important to have those alerts, like we talked about, be aware of what's going on, and make sure that you are prepared for anything in terms of your go bags and those kinds of things.
Go bags, things like that, absolutely. So the Orange County Fire Authority has several different ways for you to get informed about fire events, and the websites are located on the screen. The one that I would recommend, though, is Alert OC, because it pushes notifications to you. You don't have to go out and reach out at all. It will push.
Yeah, you don't have to go find them.
To whatever technology you want to stay connected. In addition, did you know that Laguna Woods has our very own emergency notification push system? It's called Code Red.
Okay.
And so I would definitely highly recommend getting signed up for that. Again, it will deliver critical alerts to your phone, text, or email. So go to our incredibly beautiful new Laguna Woods Village website. Scroll down.
It is beautiful. It's a good job.
Gorgeous. Scroll down to the bottom of the page, and there you'll see the Code Red insignia. Click on the Sign Up Today and sign up today. So it's never too early to be prepared.
Not too early to be prepared. So great information today, Jean. I want to talk to you a little bit about your service here. When did you get started with Mutual? When did you get started jumping in here? You're supposed to be retired.
Yeah, and that's exactly. Yeah, they kept asking me when I was retiring. I had no idea that there was a motive, behind it. I retired June of last year from the Walt Disney Company, January of last year, excuse me, from the Walt Disney Company, and I saw a need. I've always been a person to get involved in whatever group or community I've been in. This seemed like a natural thing for me. My husband claims he never sees me. He's probably right. He's seeing me now, though.
There you go. He's watching.
He's watching, I'm sure. So I like to get involved with the community and try and make things better. And I think hopefully we have a wonderful, wonderful group of people on our United Board. And all very, very involved in their community and wanting to make things better. Yeah. So,
what do you love about serving?
When I can solve problems for people. I love the town halls. Every town hall that we put on, I try and bring something new to the town hall. For example, last week we had Chief Eric Nunez come out and talk to our members. We've had a couple of issues with thefts, bike and e-bikes and things like that. And so he came out, and I believe I felt better after his presentation. Put people's minds at ease that security and safety is our #1 concern. See something, say something. You're involved in this process as well. But afterwards, I love when people come up and go, "Hey, I'm having a problem with this. I would love to know how to do that." And connecting people with the right department, with the right person, and trying to solve problems on an individual basis. It's very easy to sit at 30,000 feet, but I'm not the person sitting in the manor with the problem with the water intrusion or something like that. So we do appreciate people coming and sharing their individual problems with us, and hopefully we can solve, or at least put them in the direction of someone to help them solve their problems.
Right. And in the big scope, you see, Congress, nothing ever changes. You can't do these things. You're at a level where you can actually see the changes and implement them, and it results in the community you're in as well. So I mean, when you make a change, it also is helping you as well.
Yeah, I think people don't see. I mean, change doesn't happen overnight. I mean, when you're dealing with 6,300 manors in United, it takes a while to get things through, and I think that's the frustration that people see. I'll be honest. Things go through committees, and they see that it takes a lot of time, and it does, because we don't want the law of unintended consequences to come into play. We want to make sure that by solving one problem, we don't create another.
Right.
And that's why we have a lot of oversight. But going back to the individual problems, we had a lady who came in and the laundry room near her manor there was a machine that wasn't working. And she'd been trying to get it updated and things like that, or replaced. And it took one phone call to the right person to go, hey, we have a problem here. And sure enough, the next thing you know is it'll be replaced within the next 2 months.
There we go.
So, I mean, it does happen. It doesn't happen as quickly as people would like, but come and talk to us. That's what we're here for. So anyways, that's
there we go. All right, Jeannie Costello, first Vice President, Laguna Woods Mutual. Thanks very much for joining us. What's your husband's name?
Jim.
Jim, thanks for watching, Jim. We appreciate it.
Thanks for the support.
Jeannie, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Rick.
You're watching This Day. We'll be right back.